my skin with my usual primers, and I've also color corrected my skin and done my brows. All products will be listed in the description, but I am just starting by priming my eyelids with the Tarte Shape Tape Concealer, which is my current fave. I think it's everybody's current favorite. And then I'm going to add the Lorac Eyeshadow Primer just as an extra hold for the eyeshadows. I'm going in with the shade Crepe from the Lorac Mega Pro 3 palette and just tapping this right on top of those bases to set them. And then I'm taking pink cream. I wasn't sure if this would have a real color to it. It didn't really, so you could skip that step. I went in with a Dusty Mauve next and just worked this into my upper crease area lightly with a MAC 217, and then just kind of started buffing that up and making this my transition shade. So again, working that into the crease with windshield wiper motions, and then with lighter pressure just blending that upwards. Next, I'm taking the shade Violet Gray and just going to work this into the crease with a pointed crease brush. I'm keeping this product in the crease and really concentrating most of the product in the inner and outer corners just to start creating some depth. This shade in particular did not blend as well as the other ones. Lorac Shadows are one of my absolute favorite shadows. This shade in particular is just a little harder to work with. And I'm taking my MAC 217 just to buff that out into the transition shade. Now to add even more depth, I'm adding Eggplant, which is this gorgeous shade. I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorites out of the palette that I've used so far. And I'm just tapping this on my outer corner and starting to work that into the kind of crease and also on the inner corner. I want to keep this color really concentrated. I had a vision for this look, and we'll see where that goes in a little bit, but I just really kept it nice and dark, and that shade was absolutely amazing for this. Very pigmented. And then just started kind of buffing that upwards to meet with the crease shade that we used before. I wanted to deepen that even more, so I took the same Eggplant shade on a pencil brush and really started packing that into the inner and outer corners. Now, Lorac Shadows do have a lot of fallout. They are highly pigmented, very buttery shadows, so you will have some fallout. I just so happen to always do my eyes first and foundation last, so it works fine for me. I can just clean it up later. And the pencil brush is just a lot more dense, so it's just going to pack on a lot more color. And then again, going to blend the edges to make sure there's no harsh lines. And yes, girl, there is a lot of fallout, but that's what makeup wipes are for. You wipe it away, it never happened. Now I'm taking the Tarte Tarteist Clay Liner and just putting some on the back of my hand, putting some on my brush, and I'm tapping this onto the center of my eyelids. I was actually requested to do something with a black base, so that's what I'm doing today. This is just really going to intensify our metallic shadow that we're going to put on top. So you're going to let that dry, and then I'm going in with Rose Quartz, which is the first color that really drawed me to buy this palette. It's just so gorgeous. So I sprayed my brush with some Urban Decay All Nighter spray and just started tapping this right on top of that black, and it just further intensifies this already metallic shadow. And I'm just going to blend the edges of that with our pencil brush again, just to make sure there's a nice gradient and there's not too much of a harsh line between the kind of crease shade and the metallic lid. And I was going for more of a halo eye. And I'm just going to buff out the edges with a very dense brush just to make sure we don't lose any of the depth that we worked so hard for. Alright guys, and this is where stuff starts to get really tricky. So I had a vision for this white liner and this really intense eye, and I picked up a eyeliner from Wet n Wild at the drugstore. I did test it on the back of my hand in a different shade and it seemed fine, so I grabbed the white and just went with it. Well, it was god awful. And I'm only showing this in the tutorial because if you could recreate this and you have a good white liner, I highly recommend it because I think it would do amazing, but it was just very cracky, it didn't work. So I basically had to wipe off everything and start over. So continuing our nice boring eye, I'm adding Tulle in the middle just to start to brighten up the center of this halo eye a little bit more. Since I wasn't able to add the white liner, I decided to go a little lighter and brighter, so I didn't do as much in the crease. One, because I wanted it to be brighter, and two, because I didn't want to piss my eyes off. So for the face, I'm using my Makeup Forever Ultra HD Liquid Foundation. You guys will be happy to know that I'm almost out of this, so I might be able to use another foundation soon. I've been stuck on this one for a minute, but I'm just blending that in with my Real Techniques Beauty Sponge. As you guys know, this is my favorite method. And it's just add a little bit at a time, blend it in, and then just add a little bit more. This keeps things from going cakey. Don't forget to blend that down your neck. And now I'm taking that Shape Tape again by Tarte and just putting like way too much underneath my eyes, down the sides of my nose. And of course to highlight, I always take that down the center of the nose, in between the brows, and on the chin. This is a very high coverage concealer. You don't need as much as I used. I'm just a little extra when I'm filming just because it looks better on camera. I'm going to cream contour my nose as usual with the LA Girl Pro Conceal Concealer in the shade Medium Beige, and then going to blend all that in with the other end of my Real Techniques Beauty Sponge. I use the pointed end for blending out my concealer and all that fun stuff, and I use the back, like flat side, for the foundation. So I'll blend that in with the pointed side, then I'll flip it to the flat side where I did my foundation just to blend out the edges so there's no harsh lines. The concealer is in the shade Fair, and it is very, very fair. So if you're as pale as me, you will appreciate this concealer. Just adding a little bit more brightness on the center of the nose. And then making a horrendous face while I set those areas with my favorite setting powder, which is the Laura Mercier Secret Brightening Powder. Love this stuff. And I'm doing a quick little bake of my little blemish there, and also on the sides of the nose I'm using the Coty Airspun Loose Face Powder in the shade Translucent. I'm going to set the rest of my face with my Urban Decay Naked Skin Foundation Powder. And to warm up my skin, I'm taking my Lorac Pro Contour Palette and taking the light contour shade just to work underneath my cheekbones, on the temple, on my forehead. I like to kind of stamp the product in and then lightly buff it just to keep things looking not too harsh. Throw some down the side of the nose and underneath the jawline, as always. Underneath the lip to make it look a little bit more pouty. And then back to the eyes, I'm taking that dusty mauve shade underneath the lower lash line, making sure to connect it to the upper eyeshadow, and then darkening that up with the shade Eggplant on the inner and outer corners, since we are going for a halo eye effect. And again, making sure it connects to the upper eyelid eyeshadow. My eyes are getting very angry at this point and watering, so that's why it's not 100% right now. But we're going to look past that. Okay? Thank you so much. And we're just going to blend that out with a fluffy brush to make it look a little bit more smooth, and then we're blending away our baking powder. Now I'm adding that beautiful rose quartz shade underneath the lower lash line in the center, and I accidentally sprayed my brush with alcohol instead of my setting spray, and that's why it's hurting my eyes and I'm making those faces. Yeah, moving along. I'm adding my lashes, and these are the Cocoa lashes in the style Diva, which I thought was gorgeous for this look. I'm brightening up the inner corner with the shade Snow from the palette, which is just a shimmery white, and then added a tiny bit of that on the center of that lower lash line as well to brighten it up. And next, just blending in my lashes with the L'Oreal Telescopic Carbon Black Mascara. Nothing new in this department. I'm switching it up today, guys. I'm just using the highlight shade from that Lorac Pro Contour palette, and I didn't add another one. It's just very kind of frosty, so if you are darker complected, it might not work for you, but it's perfect for my pale skin. Just adding this to my usual highlighting areas. I do like to over highlight my face, don't judge me. I'm also trying my new Smashbox blush palette for the first time, and it is so pretty, but I'm just mixing these two shades together and popping them on my cheeks. I do really like this palette. I've showed it on my Snapchat, but yes, I really like it. There are some highlight shades that I have not used yet, so I'll be using those in a future tutorial. And since we're not doing a winged liner, I wanted to go in and just make sure that there wasn't any fallout on our lash band, which there was, so I'm just using a black eyeshadow to cover that up. And for our final step, I'm adding Trap by ColourPop, and it actually ended up being like dry and kind of old. I've had this one for a long time and I've used the crap out of it, so I ended up adding another liquid lipstick. It was just a little too cracky for me, so I just added this nude one from NYX. I'll list the product in the description. I'm sure at some point I doused my face with some setting spray. I just can't find the clip, but this is the final look. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.